The Forgotten Legend. The Grand Council of the Galactic Union convened in the crystalline chambers of Nexus Station, the massive orbital construct that served as the political heart of civilized space. 12 representatives from the dominant species gathered around the circular table, their varied anatomies accommodated by specialized seats. Holographic displays shimmered in the air above them, projecting star charts and data streams. First speaker Thaxful, a tall, slender being with iridescent scales and 6 nimble appendages, called the session to order. Esteemed colleagues, we face a peculiar situation. Our long-range sensors have detected unusual signal patterns emanating from Sector 873, a region long considered uninhabited. Counselor Zirin, representing the hive-minded Morigi collective, chittered skeptically. Sensor ghosts, nothing more. That sector contains only gas giants and barren rocks. Perhaps, Thaxful replied, manipulating the holographic display to zoom in on a particular system. But these signals bear communication patterns, structured, intentional. The chamber filled with murmurs as the counselors digested this information. It was Ambassador Kelvor of the ancient Drath hierarchy who finally spoke, the words lingering in everyone's mind. It reminds me of the old stories of Earth. The chamber fell silent. Earth, a name from children's tales and historical curiosities. A planet said to have housed a species called humans, beings of remarkable adaptability but limited vision. According to fragmentary records dating back thousands of years, humans had briefly ventured into space before mysteriously vanishing from galactic affairs. Most scholars believed they had destroyed themselves in some petty conflict, or perhaps succumbed to a natural disaster. Their existence had become the subject of academic debate, with many considering humans to be merely allegorical figures in ancient parables. Ambassador Kelvor, Zirin chittered with amusement. Surely you don't suggest these signals come from the mythical humans. Next, you'll tell us the world eaters are real as well. Laughter rippled through the chamber, breaking the tension. Thaxful raised a limb for silence. Regardless of origin, protocol demands investigation. I propose dispatching a scientific delegation to determine the source. The motion passed unanimously, though most counselors considered it a waste of resources. The Galactic Union had explored and catalogued 78% of the known galaxy over its 12,000 years of existence. The discovery of a new spacefaring civilization seemed as likely as finding a star made of pure platinum. The research vessel Enlightened Inquiry dropped out of FTL at the edge of Sector 873, its sensors immediately beginning wide-spectrum analysis. Chief Researcher Neri Sol, a Cethlar whose species prided themselves on their methodical approach to science, supervised the operation from the central laboratory. Fascinating, she murmured, studying the incoming data. The signals are stronger here, definitely artificial, and following logical patterns. Her assistant, Trell, a young Morigi who had yet to develop the cynicism of his elder hive mates, worked diligently at a nearby console. I've isolated 3 distinct transmission types. One appears to be automated navigational beacons. Another contains data packets, encrypted but definitely digital communication. The third, he paused, mandibles clicking in surprise. The third seems to be entertainment broadcasts. Neri Sol moved to his station, her 4 eyes widening. Entertainment? You're certain? The pattern matches known entertainment formats. Rhythmic audio, narrative structures. It's primitive, but unmistakable. The chief researcher felt her professional skepticism wavering. Origin point. Trell manipulated the holographic display, zooming in on a small, unremarkable yellow star. Third planet, terrestrial world. Atmosphere nitrogen-oxygen mix. Significant water coverage. Neri Sol stared at the image, a chill running through her 4 hearts. The planet's specifications matched the fragmentary descriptions of Earth preserved in the Union's historical archives. Set course, she ordered. Standard observation protocols. Maintain stealth systems. As the enlightened inquiry approached the blue-green world, the sensor readings became increasingly perplexing. The planet showed signs of industrialization, yet environmental readings indicated relatively low pollution levels. Energy signatures suggested advanced technology, yet no artificial structures were visible from orbit. "This makes no sense," Nerisol muttered. "A civilization advanced enough for interstellar communication should have visible orbital infrastructure." That's when their passive sensors detected the approaching vessel. It appeared suddenly, as if materializing from nothing, a sleek craft of unfamiliar design. Before they could react, a transmission cut through their communication systems. "Unidentified vessel. This is Earth Defense Force Scout Ship Vigilant. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself and state your purpose." The message repeated in the standard Galactic Union trade language, then in 12 other known languages, and finally in one the translation matrix couldn't decipher, presumably the native's own tongue. Silence fell over the enlightened inquiry's bridge. They had expected to find ruins, perhaps primitive survivors, not an organized space force with stealth technology that had somehow evaded their sensors until choosing to reveal itself. Following protocol, Nerisol opened a channel. "This is the research vessel Enlightened Inquiry from the Galactic Union. We are on a scientific mission investigating unusual signal patterns. We come in peace and seek knowledge." There was a brief pause before the response came. "Understood. Enlightened Inquiry. Maintain position. The diplomatic delegation will rendezvous with your vessel in 30 minutes to establish formal contact procedures." Nerisol exchanged glances with her crew. Diplomatic delegation. They speak as if they're a recognized power. Shrull's mandibles clicked nervously. "Should we inform the Council?" "Yes," she decided. "Transmit all data immediately. The mythical humans, it seems, are quite real, and they have been watching us." News of the contact spread through the Galactic Union like a stellar flare. The Grand Council reconvened in emergency session, the previous amusement replaced by growing concern. "How is this possible?" demanded Councillor Zirin. "Our historical records indicate Earth possessed only rudimentary space technology before their disappearance. Nothing that could have evolved into what we're seeing now." Ambassador Kelvor, whose species maintained the most extensive historical archives, tapped his gnarled fingers against the table. "Our records are incomplete. Earth's last documented interstellar activity was over 1,200 years ago, a primitive expedition to their system's outer planets. After that, nothing. We assumed they had regressed or extinguished themselves." "Clearly," said First Speaker Thaxful, "they did neither. They simply withdrew." The implications hung heavy in the chamber. A spacefaring civilization that had deliberately hidden itself from the galactic community for over a millennium, developing in isolation. The strategic and security implications were enormous. The holographic display flickered, showing a real-time transmission from the Enlightened Inquiry. A human diplomatic party had boarded the research vessel. The beings were bipedal, with 2 arms, varied skin tones, and a peculiar lack of natural defenses. They looked almost fragile compared to most Union species. Yet there was something in their bearing, a contained confidence that belied their physical appearance. "I am Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth Defense Force." The leader introduced herself, her alien features arranging into what translator algorithms identified as a non-threatening expression. "On behalf of the United Earth Government, I extend greetings to the Galactic Union." Nerisol, visible in the transmission, seemed overwhelmed. "You know of the Union?" The human's expression shifted slightly. "We have been observing galactic affairs for centuries. Your languages, political structures, technological capabilities. We've studied them all, from a distance. Why remain hidden?" Nerisol asked the question burning in every council member's mind. "Self-preservation," Captain Reyes answered simply. "Earth's early encounters with other species were instructive regarding our relative position in the galactic hierarchy. We chose to develop on our own terms, without external influences or constraints. First speaker Thaxvol leaned forward. And now you reveal yourselves. Why? The human captain's gaze seemed to meet his across the vast distance of space. Because concealment is no longer necessary, or possible. The transmission included data packets that painted a startling picture. Human civilization had spread throughout their solar system and into neighboring stars, using technologies that fundamentally differed from Union standards. They had mastered energy manipulation, materials science, and propulsion systems along evolutionary paths the Union had never explored. Most concerning, they had developed methods to shield their activities from standard detection, explaining their long invisibility. As the Council digested this information, strategic analysts were already raising alarms. The humans' technological base was not only different but potentially superior in key areas. Their ability to remain undetected suggested defensive capabilities beyond current Union standards. And most disturbing, they had observed the Union for centuries, accumulating knowledge while sharing none. We must determine if they represent a threat, Zarin declared, his collective mind already calculating probabilities. Caution is advisable, agreed the normally peaceful representative from the Anar Conclave. Their deliberate isolation suggests either fear or hostility. First speaker Thaxvol studied the displayed data, particularly the limited glimpses of human vessels. Something about their design suggested weapons capability far beyond what a civilization of their reported size should possess. We will establish diplomatic relations, he decided, while quietly assessing their true capabilities and intentions. If humans have indeed been developing in isolation for over a millennium, who knows what they've become, or what they truly want? The Council agreed, unaware that human observation systems were monitoring their deliberations in real time, translating and analyzing every word. Earth had revealed itself by choice, not by accident, and the carefully managed first contact was proceeding exactly according to human strategic planning. In orbital stations and planetary bases throughout human space, military forces remained on alert, waiting to see whether diplomacy would suffice, or if the millennium of preparation for this moment would culminate in something far more dramatic. The unforgiving reckoning. 3 standard months after first contact, the Galactic Union's diplomatic initiative with Earth had produced mixed results. Human representatives engaged courteously in cultural exchanges and preliminary trade discussions, but skillfully deflected questions about their military capabilities, population centers, and technological specifications. Meanwhile, Union intelligence agencies worked frantically to penetrate the veil of secrecy surrounding human space. Scout ships equipped with advanced sensors probed the boundaries of claimed human territory, finding little beyond automated beacons and occasional patrol vessels that always seemed to detect the scouts before being detected themselves. In the secure depths of the Nexus Station, the Union Security Council, a smaller body than the Grand Council, composed of military leaders rather than politicians, convened to discuss the human question. Fleet Commander Drax, a veteran of border conflicts with non-Union species, displayed tactical projections on the central holodeck. The humans represent an unknown variable in a sector we previously considered secure. Their technological base differs significantly from ours, making capability assessments difficult. However, our analysis suggests their military potential exceeds what their apparent industrial capacity should support. Explain, ordered Security Director Kiven, a Drath whose ancestral memory included countless conflicts. Their vessels employ energy signatures unlike anything in our database. Efficiency ratings suggest power generation capabilities at least 2 generations beyond our current technology. Most concerning, they appear to possess some form of spatial manipulation technology that allows them to mask their presence and potentially achieve FTL transitions without conventional drive signatures. The implications were clear to everyone present. A civilization that could hide its ships could hide its fleet. A civilization that could mask energy signatures could disguise weapon systems. Recommendations. Security Director Kiven asked, though the direction of the discussion was already apparent. Fleet Commander Drax highlighted several star systems near human space. Preemptive security action. We neutralized their known outposts and established a containment perimeter while we assessed the full extent of their capabilities and intentions. The Grand Council will not authorize military action without clearer provocation, cautioned political liaison Mira, the sole voice of diplomatic restraint in the chamber. The Grand Council, Director Kiven replied coldly, will be informed after operational security is assured. This falls under the emergency defense protocols. The potential threat outweighs diplomatic considerations. The decision was made. Within days, a Union battle group consisting of 7 capital ships and their escorts assembled under communications blackout at a staging area 2 systems away from human space. Their mission: a swift, overwhelming strike against 3 identified human outposts, followed by a push toward Earth itself if resistance proved minimal. The Union commanders expected a quick, decisive operation against an isolated civilization that had developed interesting but limited technology. They anticipated surrender negotiations within hours of the first strikes. They were catastrophically wrong. The Union battlecruiser Righteous Thunder led the attack on Outpost Gamma, a human facility orbiting a gas giant in the Ta-City system. Long-range scans had identified minimal defenses and a small complement of what appeared to be civilian research vessels. Weapons locked on target, reported the tactical officer. All systems optimal. Fleet Captain Jarex watched the approaching station on the main view screen. Commence firing. Disable their communications first, then power systems. The battlecruiser's main batteries discharge, lances of coherent energy streaking across space toward the seemingly vulnerable station. Seconds before impact, something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to ripple around the outpost. The energy beams distorted, curved, and dissipated harmlessly. Simultaneously, alarm klaxons blared across the Union vessels as sensors detected massive energy spikes materializing throughout the system. "Multiple contacts," shouted the sensor officer, his voice rising in panic. They're everywhere." The view screen shifted to a tactical display showing dozens, no, hundreds, of contacts appearing from nowhere, surrounding the Union battle group in a 3-dimensional net of overwhelming force. Human vessels of various configurations, from nimble frigates to massive capital ships, had simply materialized from what sensors had registered as empty space. "Impossible," whispered Fleet Captain Jarex. "No cloaking technology is this perfect." A communication channel opened automatically on all Union vessels. A human face appeared on screen, wearing what analysis would later identify as a formal military uniform. "This is Admiral Helena Vega of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have committed an act of unprovoked aggression against a human installation. You are surrounded and outgunned. Power down your weapon systems immediately or face the consequences of your actions." Jarex hesitated only briefly before making the call that would later be heavily scrutinized. "All vessels, maintain battle stations. Prepare for." He never finished the order. Throughout the Union formation, weapon systems suddenly went offline. Propulsion failed. Life support remained functional, but every offensive capability had been neutralized in an instant. On the bridge of the Righteous Thunder, confusion reigned. "How?" demanded Jarex. "We're hardened against electronic warfare." The answer came in the form of small devices that had apparently attached themselves to the Union vessels' hulls during their approach. Devices that had been invisible to sensors until they activated. Human technology had been embedded in the very space the Union ships traversed, waiting like patient predators. Similar scenarios played out at the other 2 targets of the Union's preemptive strike. In each case, overwhelming human forces appeared seemingly from nowhere, neutralizing Union vessels before they could inflict damage. Within 6 hours, the entire Union battle group, the pride of their fleet, had been disabled without a single human casualty. Not one Union ship had managed to fire more than its initial volley, and even those had proven ineffective against whatever defensive technology the humans employed. In an emergency session of the Grand Council, the magnitude of the disaster became clear. Holographic displays showed the Union's captured vessels being escorted by human ships toward Earth. More disturbingly, long-range sensors detected massive human fleet movements throughout what had previously appeared to be empty or minimally developed systems. "How did we not see this?" demanded First Speaker Thaxful, his usual composure shattered. An entire civilization hidden in plain sight. The answer came from Ambassador Kelvor, who had been consulting the Drath's ancient records. They were never myths. They were waiting, watching, learning from our mistakes without revealing their own capabilities. A priority communication interrupted the council session. The view screen displayed a human in formal diplomatic attire, standing in what appeared to be a grand chamber with Earth visible through a massive window behind him. "I am High Chancellor Marcus Chen of the United Earth Government. Your unprovoked attack on peaceful human outposts constitutes an act of war under any reasonable interpretation of galactic law. However, we have chosen to respond with restraint rather than retaliation." The human's voice was calm, measured, but carried undertones that the Council's most experienced members recognized as absolute confidence backed by overwhelming power. "Your military vessels and personnel will be returned unharmed, though we have neutralized certain weapon systems. Consider this a demonstration rather than a punishment." First Speaker Thaxful struggled to maintain dignity. "What demonstration would that be, Chancellor?" The human's expression remained neutral. "That humanity has never been defenseless or ignorant of galactic affairs. We chose isolation to develop without interference. When we decided to reveal ourselves, it was because we were ready to join the galactic community as equals, or better." The implied threat hung in the air. "Your union has existed for 12,000 years, the Chancellor continued. "Humanity has observed 1/10 of that span. In that time, we have seen your species conquer, absorb, or marginalize 97 less advanced civilizations. We chose not to be the 98th. Displays around the council chamber updated to show human fleets taking position throughout formerly empty sectors, revealing a sphere of influence 3 times larger than anyone had suspected. Military analysts would later determine that humans had established hidden outposts and settlements throughout supposedly uninhabited regions of space, using their unique technology to remain undetected until choosing to reveal themselves. The Union Security Council acted without authorization. Thaxful offered, seeking diplomatic ground. "Their actions do not represent." "We monitored your deliberations," interrupted the Chancellor. "We know exactly who authorized what and when. Your transparency protections are inadequate against our observation capabilities." That single statement sent shockwaves through the Council. If humans could penetrate the most secure communications of the Union, what else did they know? What else could they do? "What are your terms?" asked Thaxful, acknowledging the new reality. "Recognition of human sovereign space, including regions we have developed covertly. Non-aggression guarantees with verification protocols of our design, and a seat on your Grand Council with full voting rights. And if we refuse?" The Chancellor's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes hardened. "Then we will demonstrate why isolation was a choice for us, not a necessity." When the communication ended, the council chamber remained silent for long moments. They had dismissed humans as myths, then underestimated them as novices. Now they faced the consequences of that arrogance. "We have no choice," Zirin finally chittered, their collective mind having calculated the odds. "Their technology bypasses our defenses. Their ships appear impervious to our weapons, and they have penetrated our most secure communications. They have been watching us for centuries," Ambassador Kelvor added, "learning our weaknesses while revealing none of their own." First Speaker Thaxful looked around the chamber at his fellow councilors, beings who had believed their civilization represented the pinnacle of galactic development. "Then we welcome humanity to the galactic community," he said, and hope they prove more merciful than we have been to others. The terms were accepted unanimously. Within a standard year, human representatives took their place on the Grand Council, their quiet confidence a constant reminder of how thoroughly they had outmaneuvered the galaxy's oldest civilization. The myths had become reality, and reality had proven far more formidable than anyone could have imagined. Humanity had not needed to fire a single shot to demonstrate their supremacy. Their victory had been won long before the first Union ship ever approached Earth, won through patience, preparation, and the most devastating weapon of all, being perpetually underestimated. Throughout civilized space, the message spread: the humans were never gone. They were waiting. And now, they had arrived.